The flood is over, and people have begun to multiply and fill the earth once more. But they've decided to settle in one place, and God doesn't seem to like that. Let's find out why. Hey there, everybody. Tally Talks Bible here. I'm going to continue on with my read through in Genesis, and I'm just going to do this one's probably going to be a little bit shorter video than usual. I'm just going to cover part of Genesis 11, and it's kind of a standalone little story about the Tower of Babel. And I'm going to read through, and afterwards I'm going to give my opinions and talk about what I know and what I've learned. But I do want to stop and just take a moment here. And on my Facebook page, I have currently reached 100 followers. That's actually a big step for me. I didn't think it would happen. Well, I didn't think it would happen as soon as it has. The page has literally been up it'll be a month. I think Saturday was when I started this page. It's been a whole month. I'm actually starting to see a lot more traction. And if you notice, my last video I posted, the shorter one, was actually, the format was a little bit different. I opened it up before my logo popped up on the screen and the theme music played. And I've been meaning to do this for a while, but I want to do a shout out to my brother Tyler Puckett and my cousin Kenny Hess. They are the ones who created the opening music, or my theme music, if you will, for this page. My TikTok has also been getting pretty big. As far as once I posted this last video, I'm new at this. I'm learning, so I'm learning, how to format these videos to where people, would like to sit through and watch them. I've also got a new stand for my recordings, so it's keeping my film process just flat and level. The old stand I had, it had like a bending neck, so it would kind of just flop over on me while I was recording. I'm also mic'd up now, so now whenever I get a name wrong, you can hear it more clearly, or when I stuttered, just like I did. But anyway, I'm very happy to say that I've reached over 100 followers on Facebook, which means I will be able to go live, but I will not be able to go live until my page is 2 months old. So we're in June now, so hopefully by August, I should be able to start doing lives. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the lives yet, but maybe I would just like to go live and just have people ask me questions that maybe I can answer, or maybe steer them in the right direction to where they can find the answer. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn to Genesis 11, and this is the NIV that I'm going to be reading from. All right, Genesis 11, the Tower of Babel. Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. Now, here in Shinar, this is where it's believed, this is where Babylon come into play. Babel is the start of Babylon. And if you know further on into the Bible, the Babylonians become a real big enemy, if you will, in the Bible. So continuing on, verse 3, they said to each other, "Come, let's make brick and bake them thoroughly." They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Now, if you listen here, they're trying to decide for themselves what's best for them rather than relying on God. This is going back to Genesis 1. After, the creation and everything, excuse me, rephrase that. Genesis 2, not Genesis 1. The snake comes in and Eve decides to do what she thought was best. And then in turn, Adam listened to Eve and did what he thought was best. Thus, sin entered into the world. Now, We just got done talking about the flood. Everybody was doing what they thought was best for them. They were just doing whatever they wanted, whatever they thought, instead of relying on God. So here we are again, right after the flood, right after he had cleansed the world because of things just like this. So the one thing that God wanted everybody to do was be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. But what they're doing right here is they're multiplying, they're coming together, but they're staying in one spot. So God's got a plan for this, a plan to make it to where they can't be in one spot. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other." So he's basically saying if they're coming together like this, there's nothing that's going to stop them. That's what they're going to be able to do, whatever they set their minds to. Which, as you know, mankind, humans, like that seems like a good thing in their eyes, but the Lord knows best. So he comes down and he confuses the language to where people cannot continue to build because they can't understand each other. So, going to come on in at verse 8. So the Lord scattered them there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the earth. Now, that's part of Genesis 11. The rest of Genesis 11 gets to start talking about Abram. And once I get into Abram, that's going to be a multi-part series. There's a lot to cover on him. And if you know ahead of time who Abram is and who he becomes, you know there's a lot of information and detail in the story of Abram. But back to the Tower of Babel. So the world was one language, and God decided to scatter them and confuse the language. So this is where it is believed that this is where all the languages originated from. You know, we have English, we have French, Spanish, you know, Mandarin, all these different languages. That there's many, many different languages. And I can barely speak the one I speak now. But that also says that it's not really stated, but this may also be where all the races come from. Because like people that spoke the same got together. And as they got together and they continued on down, you know, they scattered, they separated, which is what the Lord wanted. He had intended for everyone to be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. He didn't want them staying in one spot. He wanted them to spread out. So with that being said, like people got together and spread out, and again, just like back when I was talking in like Genesis 3 and 4, you know, people coming together and they're like, you know, marrying each other and having children with each other. The gene pool was pretty much perfect. So when these people spread out and started to come together and marry each other, have children, certain distinct features started to occur, such as, you know, certain people groups have bigger noses or bigger ears, or their skin complexion is darker or lighter depending on where they move to. So more features started to become more prominent with the more, you know, singular gene pool dominance versus it being kind of spread out between a bunch of different people. Tower of Babel, I just thought it was very interesting because there's a lot of stuff that happened there with how we were supposed to come together as a people and spread out, but decided that it was better in their eyes to stay in one spot and try to build a tower to the heavens so they could be like the Elohim up in the sky, up in the heavens, because that's what they thought. But God put a stop to that. And you're going to continue to see these patterns of, you know, people doing well. You think, oh yes, here it is. They're doing what they need to do. They're doing the right thing, and then just fall again and fall again. There's been but one perfect human being to ever live on this earth, and that's Jesus Christ. And there will never be another one like him. Again, I'm super happy about hitting 100 followers on my Facebook page. Again, my TikTok is also growing. I've got stuff up on YouTube. I'm not gaining a whole lot of traction on there, which I think YouTube, it's a lot harder nowadays to really get YouTube up and going. But I've been getting a lot of love on my other two platforms, Facebook and TikTok. My TikTok has been doing especially well with this past video. So changing my format has seemed to really help. I just want to thank you for your time, and I'm gonna try to continue to make these videos better quality. I'm doing upgrades, and all this is coming out of my pocket. I mean, I'm doing improvements here and there, trying to get better equipment so I can be heard more clearly and have better quality videos. I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate all the support, and I hope we continue to grow together. And I'm gonna maybe try to start posting more videos during the week. I'm starting to get into these stories in the Bible that are going to have to be multi-parted. So I might up it to maybe doing 3 videos a week. I'll do 2 of my Bible reads, and then I'll do like my little interesting fact video. So again, thank you everybody for the support. And as always, God bless.